All right, we'll go ahead for
Morning.
questions with Coach Borland. Are you guys ready?
All right, no questions, good.
The speed that Oklahoma likes to play at, how does your defense need to be sound to kind of minimize what Oklahoma wants to do tempo-wise?
Yeah, well, they can do what they want to do, in terms of tempo. We just got to be able to, match it and be prepared. And so we always talk about, hey, get up off the ground, get to your spot, get your eyes to the sideline, get the calls that we need to make, and we got to play with a sense of urgency, but not panic. So we've been practicing those kind of things all week long. So and we do that regularly versus our own offense. I'm not overly concerned about it right now. It's just a different style, and hopefully we'll get a lot of 3 and outs and get ourselves off the field. That would be clutch.
We hear a lot about offenses dictating the pace of a game or controlling the clock. How do you feel like defenses can do that? Or
We can do certain things. If they substitute, we can substitute, and we can kind of work the clocks that way, work the seconds off the clock that way to not give them as much time to maybe do some of the things they want to do. So there's only so much that you're going to do, and like I said, that's how we practice almost all the time at a high rate of speed. And we do a lot versus our own offense where they have 2 huddles going against one of our defenses. So that we practice that way a lot. So it's hard to see. It's hard to play faster than that in a real game than we actually see in practice sometimes. So.
Hey, Brian, against Oklahoma didn't have Gabriel last week. When you look at them, what are the differences that they do with and without him?
Well, obviously they tried some different things last week with various people playing quarterbacks, real quarterbacks, receivers, running backs. They just a whole bunch of different things, and and had varying degrees of success with that kind of stuff. I would feel like if they're if he's back healthy and able to play, I would think that they would want to use a legitimately good player like that as opposed to maybe trying all the other stuff. But we prepared for everything we saw last week as well. So if they come out in some of those looks, we'll be ready. And I think he's their best quarterback. So I'm sure they're anxious to get him out there, and we're anxious to see what we can do against him.
How do you feel like the substitutions against TCU helped control the pace? It seemed like early in the game they went fast, and then you guys were able to kind of use that subs to slow it down.
Yeah, they were a little erratic with some of their. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't, and so they kind of surprise you sometimes, which is almost harder than somebody that does it all the time. But yeah, we were able to. We have a good substitution plan for things like that, and so we every time there's any kind of substitutions, we substitute. If they substitute and then substitute again, we send more guys in. So like I said, we practice that a bunch and rehearse it, and we've had probably almost 400 snaps of defense this year, I bet, over 6 games, and we really haven't had a miscue in some of that stuff yet. So I feel pretty good about our ability to handle that on Saturday also.
I'm wondering with OJ, how much more confidence do you feel like he's playing with in terms of his own body and physically and being physical? How do you feel like he's playing confidently?
Yeah, I think that's a key for him. That he's physically bigger. I'm serious when I say he's probably over 20 pounds heavier now than he was when we showed up, 15, 16 months ago. So he's put on a lot of weight, good weight, added a lot of strength. He's really a smart player. He knows what it is we're trying to do, and he rarely makes mistakes out there in terms of getting himself and our defense organized back there. So I think that helps him, and he still has a ways to go yet, right? And just becoming the complete physical player that he can be and probably needs to be at some point. But there's several plays this year where he had an awesome play on Saturday where he fends off 2 blockers and makes a tackle for no gain. So he can do it. It's just probably more consistency from him. But he certainly is playing with a lot more confidence.
How has Craig Young lived up to what you expected of him?
Oh, he's everything that we expected he would be or hoped he would be. He's so I've said it before, he's a unique body type. He's long, he's athletic, he's fast. So he's really excelling in the role that we're asking him to do. And so he takes that seriously, and there's not the least bit of disappointment in anything that he's doing. Well, I always say this about every guy, right? I try to compliment him, but then he still has a ceiling that he can reach also. This is probably the first time in his career that he's started and played a significant amount of snaps. So he's still growing as well. But in terms of what he's been able to do for us has been kind of a dream come true for me, because we can play whatever defense calls that we want, and we don't always have to be subbing guys around because, well, he can't do this, so we got to put this other guy in, and then we want to run this other call. He can't do that. We don't have to do that. He really can do it all.
What does Kenny Logan's experience and leadership do for the defense?
Well, I think there's confidence in him because he's played a lot of football, played a lot of good football, and kind of been through it a little bit. So I think guys would look to him in that way, and trust the things that he's going to do back there. And when you need something to happen, he's certainly a guy that's proven it can happen. So I just think he's a confidence booster for everybody back there.
Seems like every week in the Big 12, there's some stud receiver you're going up against. Marvin Mims this week for Oklahoma. What's going to be the key to defending him?
Yeah, back up. I don't know. He's like really legitimately a really good all-around receiver. Last week is maybe some of the size of guys and things like that, and maybe that's not him as much, but you just talk about a guy that runs good routes and is fast and catches the ball and is versatile, and he's kind of the whole package that way. So I always talk about our guys about it's just awareness of where he is, how he's aligned, what call do we have, what coverage are we playing, and what does that mean? So it's trying to awareness of putting all those things together, and knowing when you can be aggressive, and when you got to be able to respect a guy's ability to run down the field on you. So I think we'll be prepared that way, and like I said, hopefully it's not going to be one of those deals where he's making all kinds of big plays against us. I think we've been able to, for the most part, bottle guys up a little bit, or keep guys under control a little bit, and I think we'll be able to do that Saturday.
Halfway through the season, how do you feel like you guys have done holistically stopping the run?
Well, comparative to a year ago, very well. I've been really happy with our run defense. I have. You can look at last week, that was a team that averaged, they were the most explosive team, TCU, in the country, and they're legitimately a good team, and we found that out. But they averaged, I don't know how many yards per carry on the year, eight something yards per carry on the year, and 4.5 on us. So now there's too many runs that were longer than I would want, but for the most part, again, I feel like our run defense has been pretty solid, and we're able to hang in there physically with people and really be as physical or more physical than most teams that we play, and been able to keep the running game under wraps for the most part, which is, again, always a starting point for us.
Brian, the guys who were here last year, your whole team really showed an ability to respond week after week, put the pass behind them, and just get after it again, and not really dwell in the record. What's that look like this year after the first loss? And did that 5-0 start change how that looks and change their attitudes or mindsets, or is it different?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't think it has at all. I think we addressed what we needed to address, how it needed to be addressed, and we move on. So whether you win, whether you lose, it's obviously better to win, but you can learn things either way, and that's just the nature of me and our program. It's, hey, next thing, okay? Here's the good, here's the bad, here's how we fix the bad, here's what we want to keep doing to emphasize the good. Now, now who's next? And let's just keep going. So I really haven't noticed anything in terms of a letdown, guys not as enthused. That I don't feel one bit of that kind of thing. I think we're anxious to go down there and play.
And their ability to do that last year in a 2-10 season, right? How much was that a factor in getting this thing turned?
I think that's a big factor, because there was probably every reason last year because there was a number of large defeats, and but guys kept coming back, and I just feel like that's the way that we, that's the message that we preach, and again, I think guys have just bought into that, and it's 1% better every day, and you can be disappointed like with a loss, but there's a difference between being disappointed or mad about it and just discouraged and disheartened. So I think guys were disappointed that we didn't win last year, or disappointed that we didn't win last week, but not discouraged and disheartened. So I think that's the reason that you can keep going forward, and there's always, win or lose, there's always something more for you out there, and that's just how we approach it. So.
Coach, we hear the 1% every day comment a lot, and the guys seem to really take to heart. You've been with Coach Leipold for a long time. Where does that philosophy, where does that exact phrase come from? Where does that philosophy come from?
Where does the exact phrase come from? I don't know. I think that's just something that's kind of tossed around out there in different circles a bunch of times. But we've really tried to make those things. It's just being more than a word on a wall or a hot saying and something like that. It's I do think that's just our mindset and approach every day to be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. Never being just satisfied and complacent and feeling like you've got it all figured out and problem solved, and never taking anything for granted, and always being hungry all the time. I think that's just what guys hear, but I also think it's sunk into those guys. It's sunk into our players, and guys have the same kind of mindset, and that's really what you want. And I think because that's happening, I think we're able to. I think that's made the difference in our program this year, and that'll be again a difference in why we're going to be able to respond well on Saturday as well.
All right, thanks everyone. Discussion.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Appreciate it.